going to do after when I open All right, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and we have a little bit of presentation we're going to go over with all the players and parents. Then we're going to take the players out to start warming them up afterward, and while that happens, Coach Braine is going to be in here to go over some other stuff with the parents. We've been working back and forth with each other. You know, football's changed a lot, and we're trying to be on the forefront of what to do with keeping kids safe and the safest possible techniques in the sport. So we don't waste everybody's time, I'll turn it over to Coach Braine from East Stroudsburg and let him run the show.
Okay, thank you all for coming. My name is Chad Braine. I'm the defensive coordinator at East Stroudsburg University. I also run First and Goal Sports, which is a youth football training academy. And my parents were very, very involved in the community. When I was growing up, my dad was the director of our youth football program, and I try to give back as much as I can to the community in any way possible. We're doing some clinics across the area and trying to promote our great game of football. Football is coming under attack because of various reasons. You know, there's all kinds of stories out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and there are some truths out there. And what I want to try to do tonight is to try to promote the game of football, the positive benefits of the game of football, and then teach you how to stay safe. So what we're going to do is, and I appreciate the kids, you guys coming, and this part isn't going to be that exciting for you, but I'm going to need your help because I'm going to ask you some questions, okay? And I want you to try to help me with some answers. And then at the end, we're going to let the kids go, and then moms and dads, I want you to feel free to ask me some questions about the game, okay? So, why do you play football? I mean, there's, in my opinion, there's a lot of great benefits of playing the game. There's 11 on 11. Every position is very, very important. And if one guy isn't doing their job, the whole team suffers. Not only do they all have to do their job, which you got to hold each other accountable, but you also have to have a lot of discipline. And one of you young people, give me an example of discipline on the football field. What is discipline? Does anyone know what discipline means? One of you young kids, tell me what you think discipline is. No one has any idea, or you just afraid to raise your hand?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, discipline is doing what you're supposed to do. Okay? Football is a great tool to teach kids how to do things correctly and being mentally tough to do things when they're tired. How many of you get tired during football practice? You have to run all kinds of sprints, right? And then you have to get down in your stance and you got to wait for that quarterback to say set hut. What happens if you jump off sides? If you jump before the quarterback snaps the ball? What happens? There's a penalty. 5-yard penalty. It's just like at work. If you show up late to work or school, you're going to get a penalty. Okay? It really, really replicates the game of life. Humility. Humility. A lot of times, you know, you guys don't understand what humility is, but your parents do. And unfortunately, the game of football, there's a lot of humility in the sport. Means if the running back fumbles the ball, what's the crowd do? Sometimes, but there's an ah. And what happens? You got to walk off that field And you have to face yourself and say, okay, I made a mistake and everybody knows, right? What happens though is you have your cooperation of your teammates. What does a good teammate do when one of your other teammates fumbles the ball? Motivates them. What do? Say, hey man, we're going to get your back, right? The first thing that our football team does, when our quarterback, if he throws an interception, what we do as we're running off the field, we say, it doesn't matter, we're going to get the football back. Okay? We say to that quarterback, don't worry, we're going to get the football back. How many of you guys have some of your best friends that play on your team? Okay, you all have great friendships. Football is such a team-oriented sport. When you advance to the higher levels, you're going to even put more and more and more time in. You develop a bond like it's like no other. I just spent the weekend at the beach with all my college football friends. Vito back there, I know he's got a big fraternity of football friends. It's something that you will never forget. It forges friendships that you will never lose. If you ever have to leave town and move to another school, it's a great opportunity to meet friends. It's a great opportunity, if you're not playing football right now, to join the Rockets and meet some new kids and meet some new friends. Obviously, you're going to get in shape. You all look like you're strong, you're lean, you can run really fast. It helps develop healthy lifestyles for you when you grow up. Okay, here's a big word. Analytical ability. Does any youngster know what that means? It makes you think a little bit. Makes you think a little bit. Does anybody know what play you should call when it's 3rd and 12? Pass play, right? Very good. What about if you're on defense and it's 3rd and 12? What do you expect the offense to do? Very good. So maybe if you're a linebacker, you want to move back a little bit. What happens if the wind is blowing fiercely into your opponent's face? Do you expect them to pass then? No. You have to understand different situations and makes you use your head. People think, football players are dumb. You know, football players, all they do is get hit in the head, which is not even true anymore. I like football more now than when I played. When I played, it was a different game. Now it is much more of a thinking person's game. Leadership ability. We talked earlier. What's a good leader do when someone messes up? Motivate them. And it helps you develop this skill as maybe being a president of a company later. You got to lead the group. Who leads the group on the offense? That quarterback, right? And not everybody can be the quarterback because you may not have that innate leadership ability. However, you're going to be able to develop some leadership ability by playing this great game. Prestige. People will look up to you because you play football. Play any sport, to be honest with you. Why do you think people will look up to you that you play a sport? Why? Super tough and helpful, okay. Think you're strong, has to do with the fitness aspect. Helpful has to do with the leadership and the cooperation part. What else?
Know what to do.
You know what to do. That analytical ability. What else? Why do people look up to you that you play the game of football? Because it's hard. Who wants to be out there in August? When do you start, Ken?
August 1st.
August 1st. You start before the college teams do. We start August 4th. So I'm going to be literally a quarter mile down the road by the pool while you guys are practicing. Okay? Now, that you have to be pretty darn tough to do that, both mentally and physically, and you make a lot of sacrifices. So people in your community are going to look up to you. It's a prestigious thing. Now, with that prestige, You have a high responsibility in your community. What do you think that means, youngsters? What do you think it means? That means you can't be doing stupid stuff, right? Because when you do dumb stuff in the classroom in this building, they're going to go to your coach and say, yeah, he's a bad kid. He's a bad kid. He's doing this in the cafeteria. He's doing that. They're going to be able to pick you out. So please understand, when you wear that Rocket shirt, you guys wear that all the time, right? You wear it with pride, right? That's excellent. It's a great thing. But you know what? When your mom and dad aren't around you and you're doing something silly, I'm going to go to Ken and say, hey, these clowns are messing around. So you wear that with pride, but then you have to hold yourself to a higher standard. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Our guys are great examples of that. Our guys, we don't have guys in the newspaper because our guys understand that if they would get in a fight, they'd be in the newspaper. If it was somebody that wasn't playing football, nothing would happen to them. So understand that. With the prestige comes responsibility. Diversity. You're going to meet friends from different backgrounds, different religions, different skin colors, and it's the greatest thing ever. Because I'm going to tell you one thing. You know, when it comes to race issues, my teammates and I, from all different religions, areas, places in the country, skin colors, we laugh at it because we're all one. There's one skin color when it comes to athletics. Everybody's molded together and we love each other. Okay? You protect each other, you support each other. And that's just one of the cool things about this great game. Please understand, it's the best game in the world. You know, I'm a little bit biased, but it is the best game because you got to be tough, you got to have a lot of discipline, you got to pick each other up, and then you know what? There are some rewards that you are put on that pedestal a little bit. So, what I want to try to do, you know, I'm talking about the great reasons to play the game. I also want to talk about why or how we're making it safer. I played my last season was 1997. Got hit in the head. Was on my knees. It was the fourth quarter. I looked over to the one sideline, looked over to the other sideline. I wasn't sure which sideline to go to. Pulled out my jersey and I saw it was red. Went over to the sideline that was red. Okay? I was sitting down on the bench. No one came around to me. Not one trainer. My teammates were messing with me, saying, oh, are you ready to get in the game? The game's ready to go. Let's go, let's go, let's beat them. And we were up like 40-0. They were messing with me because 20 years ago, it was sort of funny to, quote, get your bell rung. But now we know, and by the way, I didn't miss any practice, played the next week, and my wife may say I'm a little bit slow, you know, but I feel like I'm pretty competent, graduated college, I'm doing okay, you know, but that would never, ever, ever happen again in this day and age. Number one, a lot of people say you shouldn't play youth football. You know, I'm not going to make that judgment myself. If I had kids, they would be allowed to participate as long as the coaches were teaching the correct things, which these guys are heads up certified, which is about 95% the same thing that I'm teaching. I think that the lower the level you go, the less impacts there are because of the force isn't as greater. Speed and mass equals force. I think the force is less, but this is all my opinion. Okay? However, the game is safer than it has ever been. Back when we all played, all the coaches, myself, we were taught to bite the ball. We were taught to, you know, to stick our nose right in their chest as a lineman. We'll get to all that. One thing that we have as a college football team, and it will spread to all over levels soon, is we have sensors in our helmets. Okay, we have sensors in our helmets, and the helmets measure every hit that we take. Every hit that we take, and if it registers to a certain amount, there's an alert that the trainer gets, and then that trainer goes and checks on that young man. because part of the problem is concussions are not detected very well. So what I would encourage they're not detected very well when they happen. Okay? Now, and I don't know how you guys do it. One way to make sure your son or daughter is safe playing the game, I mean, I'm pretty sure that as a coach, we can't watch all 11 guys on the field at one time. However, those sensors can. Those sensors can, we'll get into that a little bit later, but we don't have 15 grand or 20 grand or whatever it was, it might have been more, it probably was, to get sensors in the helmets. But what you all can do is, hey, if your son or daughter took a big time shot in the game, you know, maybe go down and say, Coach, could you check on Johnny? He took a big time shot. And just make sure that he's acting normal. Because the part of the problem is with concussions is the repeat offenses of the concussion. That's the biggest problem. Is when you do not, your brain is like any other muscle. It can get bruised, and I'm not a doctor like we got some guys here, so I'm not going to get too technical with it. But if you do not allow it to heal, that's when you can have major issues. Okay, so that's one thing. We need to keep an eye on our guys. The other thing, and coaches, you all know this, I'm a big time proponent of not encouraging the big hit anymore. Not encouraging the big hit anymore. Why are we cheering when a guy gets laid out? I mean, the same people that are cheering when a guy gets laid out on the football field are the same people that will complain when the game's gone. If we continue to allow the big hit and to have our egos filled because a kid gets laid out and is laying there, it's not a good look. We cannot encourage the big hit. It's changed. It's changed. Those days are over. We're going to try to teach the proper way to tackle. Can you put a shoulder on somebody's chest and have a good clean hit? Absolutely. But anything involving the head is a big time dangerous thing. So I'm going to get into the tackling techniques, and probably 4 or 5 years ago, we changed our tackling techniques based off of necessity for how we were executing tackles. Meaning we were missing too many tackles. It didn't have a ton to do with injuries, but then it sort of evolved into that. But 2 years ago, I got together with a company and did a couple clinics with them. They're called Atavis Tackling Systems. And what's happening is they're down in Texas, every coach in Texas is going to have to be Atavis certified now. Like I said, it's similar to Heads Up. And what Atavis tackling is, it's very similar to what we're doing, is it's basically a rugby style tackling system. I'm going to show you some videos on here where we're practicing tackling without any pads. We're practicing tackling without any helmets. If when we go back and we look at those measurements from our helmet sensors, we shouldn't have any big hits in practice ever. Ever. If you're having big hits in practice, you're not practicing correctly. We can't have kids get head injuries in practice. If we have head injuries in practice, not only is it silly because we're not practicing correctly, but number two, that young man doesn't want to go to practice anymore. You know, I tell everybody the first play I ever took, my first game as an 8-year-old, I got drilled and my mom and my grandfather were roaring laughing. It was funny. And that's how it was. First college play I got drilled, I had a bloody nose. You know, and it was everyone laughed about it. But now we got to be a little bit safer in this regard. So, our tackling system is very safe and it's very effective because we're going to use our teammates to help us make the tackle. So we're going to go through this relatively quickly. And I'm gonna talk about all this stuff on the field. This is a lot of clinic talk here, but I do want to show you a couple videos. Sorry, I'm having a little difficulty here. Okay, I'm gonna have to do it without. I'm not sure why it's not allowing me to play the video. Okay, y'all can see this somewhat okay? I'm not sure why it's displaying like this. I want you to see these drills that we're going to do. These drills are going to be very similar that we do tonight. We practice tackling every single day. We practice tackling to the ground in our scrimmages. Okay, and this is a college football team. Practice tackling every single day. We practice tackling to the ground 3 times in our 3 scrimmages prior to our first football game. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm just going to show you have this video on repeat. The old school way of football is you were taught to get your head across. You want to stand up here, big man? What's your name? Dylan has the ball. He has the ball in his left arm. And he's running this way. The old school approach used to be, I was taught to get my head on that football. Well, what happens, Dylan, what are you going to do if I'm going to tackle you? Are you just going to run straight up? What are you going to do? Get low. Well, get low. What do? We bang heads. Thanks, Dylan. We bang heads. Does it make any sense of getting your head across the ball if that running back's going to bang heads? Or lower his head? No, you're going to bang heads, and that's how you have concussions. You can't get a concussion if your head isn't hitting anything. So watch these guys right here. This is a full speed tackling drill, and I'll break it down in videos to follow. Okay, here's another drill I'm going to show you. This is a leverage drill. I need 3 volunteers real quick. And these I'm going to show you on the field. 1, 2, 3. Come on out. Okay, you're the ball carrier. And I'm going to break this down on the field. Your left shoulder is right here. Your right shoulder is here. We're sandwiching this kid, and no one's going to get hurt. Why isn't anyone going to get hurt? Because their heads aren't touching. And they got shoulder pads here, and they got shoulder pads here. So I want you to lower your shoulder into his chest, lower your shoulder into his chest. If we do it like this, we're not going to hit heads. Now, I want you to put the ball in your left arm, head here, head here. Now we have 3-way head contact. Just because we hit heads, you guys can sit down. Just because we hit heads doesn't mean it's an automatic concussion. But the less contact we have with the heads, the better. So this is an example of a drill that you'll do, that we do without any shoulder pads. Sorry, last. And we'll do this drill a little bit later. Sorry I can't get it to, I don't know why I can't get it blown up. This is about as violent as we get in practice. Okay, notice, we're about a yard apart. When you're a yard apart, you cannot accelerate. You can't have that force. What we say, force is mass times acceleration. So, if you wanted to knock me down, you really can't do a lot from being that far, right? But if you get a running start, go ahead. Now you can knock me down, right? Don't try it, I don't want to fall. But we do our drills in small areas. Come on, sit down. This is a full contact drill here. Full contact drill. These are the linebackers. We had 3 linebackers that were all conference this year. They were super players and even better kids. The best thing is when we did the analyzation of who got the most hits in practice, the linebackers got the least amount of hits in practice. They got the least amount of hits, contact with their head in practice, and they're technically, by the book, the most physical players on the field. And you can see here, we're just practicing running our feet, staying low. And we'll get into the technical aspects of it in a second. Here's another drill that we'll do to practice getting the head out of the play. Okay, now, what I'd like to do right now, I want all the kids, I want all of you guys to go out with the coaches. They're going to get you stretched and organized. The parents just stay in here for a little bit. Watch the cord, fellas. I want you guys to ask questions. Any questions about the game of football?
Where are all those guys going?
They're all going to the field out here.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do the drills next.
Those parents right there.
Oh, I don't know if they don't want.
Or you want parents?
Yeah, if you want to just hang out for a little bit, or you can go with them. It doesn't matter.
Let me see if I can corral some of them back in.
Okay. If any, the kids did great. 30 minutes. Not acting crazy. I want to answer questions that you guys may have. Yes, sir.
It's more of a rugby type. You're using double teams.
Absolutely.
Rugby type. Leg, like
Similar. And I'm going to go through it completely detail, but our aiming point is from the top of the knees to the chest. Top of the shoulder.
You notice that rugby players don't miss on attack.
Absolutely not.
That makes sense.
Absolutely not. Okay, questions. Moms, there's concerns about playing. Anyone have any concerns? Yes.
What are the signs of a concussion in a child?
The signs of a concussion?
Yeah. If you don't wear, I'm not saying there is no, there's no.
Know where they are, what you think headache, irritation, violent emotions, nausea. Yeah, you see. Stay before they start getting emotional swing, they get angry. Those are headache is a big obvious number one. Then going back and
What?
yeah,
Being in it for 20 years, anytime the kids are a little bit off, I mean, you know your kids just like we know our players. If he's acting abnormal in a meeting, hey man, what's going on? And the first thing I say is, how's your head? You're having trouble sleeping. Boom, that's it. And see, here's the thing. We're in a tough situation because if I don't win, I lose my job, and then I don't know what I'm going to do. So if I lose my best player, he doesn't play. So, but I'm actively looking for that because if he loses something else. Now I'm done. I want to take myself. Terrible situation. So anytime a young man is acting abnormal, we say you go to the trainer. And a lot of times our guys, but I got to sit out. Hey man, you got to go to the trainer. You have to go to the trainer. We're harder on ourselves than the law. There is no real law. You know, there's no law that if you know a kid has a concussion and you don't report it, that you're going to get in trouble. But we treat it like if there is a law. What other questions?
You're saying that in university, in this level, there's a trainer. I don't see a trainer on the field.
That's not my. What are you guys?
On game day, we have trainers that are there. This past few years, we've had them for the upper division games. This year, we're going to have them from the little guys all the way through. We're also working on getting EMS having also at the field. So other than a certified trainer that we have for the games, we're also looking to have whether it's a town ambulance or St. Clair's or Atlantic Health, to have a presence at the field in case there is an emergency. You get a kid that breaks a finger, that doesn't warrant carrying, sending him off in an ambulance. But for the most part, we're trying to work something out with the town fire departments to have, some of their EMS guys, throughout the day, whether they run shifts or whatever, but to have an ambulance and at least one or two EMS people at the field, along with the trainers that we have. Obviously, just in case there ever is an issue.
The big thing, like I said, if you see your son or daughter take a shot in the game, you may want to go ask the coach to check on them. I mean, and it's got, use your judgment. I don't want, and Ken's going to get mad at me if the sideline's flooded with parents, but if you see him acting strange, because what's happened, and if you played at the higher level of football, you see a kid that has a terrible game, the worst game ever, and then you go back and on Monday morning you found out he got a concussion. You're like, well, no wonder. And then you go back until you see where he took that shot. And that's because sometimes they are not noticeable. Sometimes it's not noticeable to the young person until 2 days afterwards. Because when you initially get it, not all your senses aren't together. You don't notice you're messed up until a couple days later sometimes. What else? Other questions? Yes, sir. Well, Ken is heads up certified. His staff is 100% heads up certified. And before I came, I wanted to make sure I wasn't teaching the exact opposite of him. Heads up. I hated heads up 2 years ago when they were telling you to get your head up.
Right. Now they changed it.
2 years ago, I'm teaching something different than a lot of people because they were still teaching to pull your neck and have your head contact. Now they're teaching get your head out of the play. It really should be head out of the play certified now,
Right.
instead of heads up. But it's my verbiage may be a little bit different because I came up with different words maybe than he's teaching you. But what I'm hoping to do is teach the kids and the coaches some new drills that help implement that system. But yeah, their system now, believe it or not, they will be teaching a safer system than the NFL uses. I have friends in the NFL, and I've tried to tell them about our system. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, but we won't do it. And why won't they do it? Well, number one, yeah, a little bit, but there's too many old heads in there. They don't want to change things. I watched the Patriots special teams coordinator talk this year, and he's getting the head across, head up, get the head across. Now the other thing is, you hold the ball in your left or right arm, and I'm hitting you here. And now Vito can come up and tackle the ball out. So what happened is, and this is a selling point for you guys, we forced 34 fumbles this year, which was the most in all levels of college football. It was at over 43 games. So that's now our players dare put their head on the football. So if I do this, Vito can't rip the ball out. So now our guys are like, hey, get your head out of the way. And it's still, we had one young man that still got his head across, but he was only with us for 1 year. And it takes a while to change habits, or bad habits. Other questions? Probably not. Probably not.
Well, the league we're in, they require all programs to be heads up certified. So they have to teach the same aspects of what, Coach Braine's talking about. We're taking it a step further and doing a little bit extra, which is keeping our kids safe. When we go and play another town, Randolph, Roxbury, Mount Olive, they're being coached the heads up certified way, which is fine. It's not going to be any difference in head contact because everything that's being taught now is head out of the tackle. We're just doing some different drills and some different techniques, which should raise our tackling rate, less missed tackles, and also when you have two people working on a tackle instead of just one, it's safer for all parties.
We're trying to get to every youth group in Morris County, Sussex County, and Tom, my partner in crime, we're trying to go everywhere to try to help. We're trying to promote the game. Like I said, it's my livelihood. We're trying to get this out there. And the leagues are pushing it. And Heads Up totally changed their methodology. So it should be a lot better. What else? What other questions?
We're teaching boys to play this way, boys and girls. What happens when they get to high school? Are they teaching the same method?
They should be, especially by then. If it's 3 or 4 years later and they're not teaching this method, that they're wrong.
Well,
They're wrong.
I know Morris Hills Regional District, so Hills and Knoll, all their coaches are heads up certified as well, which is they have different levels at youth, high school. I'm not sure if they have college on there or not. I haven't looked into it that far, but I know because when we have to go on and re-register, every year we have to take refresher courses and stuff like that on it, and a whole another hour and a half of testing. When I put in Rockaway, I start typing in Rockaway for where I am, it comes up, Rockaway Township Football, Morris Hills Regional District, Rockaway Junior Night. So
It's going to be a lot more trendy to do it this way. Yeah. Now this is the crazy thing, is the higher the level you go, the less certifications you have to have. It's stupid. It's really stupid. Like what I do for a living is teach kids how to tackle. No one tests me. But yet the youth guys I'm certified through Adams. I didn't have to do it, but when I was formulating my plan, how I wanted to implement it, I just took it. But we don't have to be certified at all.
So everybody in Rockaway, all the parents who are coaches, they're certified?
Correct. Anybody who is on our field, they pass the Rutgers course, and they're heads up certified, and right. Now, there's another concussion certification too that we got prior, which kind of falls right in line with the same thing that Heads Up does. But I want to say Heads Up took their concussion and put it as part of their testing program.
And this is the first year you guys are implementing Heads Up, or was it last year?
This is our third year. The first year we did it, I personally didn't agree with what Heads Up taught. Like Coach was saying before, it was still head up, but you're still putting your face in the block or the tackle. Last year they completely changed their whole theory tackling. I mean, you have a sport that's very similar to football with no equipment, and their injuries are a lot less. Because when you don't have anything protecting your face, you're not putting your face in.
The higher the level you go, the more concussions you have. Unfortunately, it's just the way of life. Like I said, force times mass or mass times acceleration. Yeah, they're bigger and they're faster, and it's crazy out there. This year, we had one concussion and on defense. We had one concussion on offense, and he had a history. I wasn't thinking to play anymore. He was a fullback in this very good position. We had one concussion on defense, and that was when the young man's helmet fell off, and he hit his head over his helmet. So, you know, the first year we forced our players to buy into it, and we criticized our players, and it has to happen when they made a tackle with the wrong shoulder. So if I put my head across, we're like, oh, nice job, you made it with the wrong shoulder. But luckily, we had 34 forced fumbles, and we had 0 kids get hurt from bad tackling. So hopefully it starts to snowball. What other questions? Yeah.
So, intrigued by the idea of minimizing the big hits. Is there going to be an assessment of the drills they do in practice to try and do that? Because I know one of the things that used to worry me is we would do that baseball drill and the line kid up 50 feet away, full speed, 8 years old, and other kids running, and then as soon as there's a big hit, everyone will fall.
Right.
You know,
That's something that's changing also. You know, we have monthly coaches meetings, and we go back and usually we do it the week after the league meeting. So every month there's a league meeting, all the programs, they have their team reps go. And then we have our meeting afterwards, and then we kind of go over what's changing in the league, what's not changing, and the different rules and regulations. They implement nothing further than 10 yards apart. We, as a program, are changing it to nothing further than, like, not saying we're going to line a kid up 5 yards over here, 5 yards apart and run straight into each other. There is going to, we will still do stuff with angle tackling, but they're like, Coach showed you, they're much closer quarters. We're not going to have a 10 to 15 yard running head start and, just run into each other.
And I'm not one to have parents question Coach Zolli ran a bad play, but in my opinion, if you're questioning the drills they're doing because of safety, I would not be afraid to voice your opinion. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying this is my broad answer to everything. Because once again, I run camps, and I'll tell you about them later. I've been running camps for 7 years, and I have a database of 1,000 people, but my enrollment is staying the same. There's less kids playing football because of the concerns of the safety. So I'm trying to make it safer at the lower levels in some way, shape, or form.
My son goes to the camp.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Is he coming again?
No, and
Awesome.
he likes Larry and the guys
Okay.
that we have. Hopefully Larry didn't get concussion.
No.
Now, do you implement all your stuff in that camp that kind of simulates to Rockaway how they?
Rockaway does a lot of stuff that we do. Yeah. Yeah, Ken and I have met like 25 times probably.
There's a reason that we partner with Braine.
Well, my son loves this camp. And
Yeah, they do the
if
same
we do a day, we do the day. You know how sometimes they'll do like
Sure.
we do that. We miss the early
Yeah.
but it's really good and the kids love it. I don't know.
I mean, maybe they'll hire Larry to be one of the coaches.
I don't know. Larry's very popular with my
pay the
kids.
rest
He is. He is.
We give them double the normal bonus.
Yeah.
Larry's a good guy. He's a
He
good
is.
guy. He's good.
Any other questions? If you have any questions you might not want to ask in front of everybody, you can catch me a little bit later. But we're going to run out and I'm going to start teaching them how to do it. We'll see how it goes with 60 wild kids, but we should be fine.